my name's Gabe Zollner. I read something which I thought was very interesting on WorldNet Daily, and I thought I'd sort of share some of it. And here's what I found, and I think you'll end up agreeing. One of the fundamental problems with our government is that they don't run it like a real business. If you ran it like a real business, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say you have an idea. And let's say you want to see if the idea works. But what do? You start off slow. You might develop a product or two, see how it's accepted. And if it's accepted, try it out in different areas. And if it's accepted, you keep expanding gradually. And that's like in a controlled environment. Well, you see, what the government does is, because it isn't their money that they're playing with, they do things big time. A perfect example is Homeland Security, Never mind all the bullets they're buying, but what they did is they wanted to improve security at the airports. So what they did is they went ahead and they took $100 million. That's what they spent on this program to date. And they went ahead and they bought, I guess, around 700 dogs. And then they trained these dogs. And these dogs were going to be wonderful because they're going to walk around airports and they're going to sniff for drugs. Real good idea. Well, here's the problem. In a controlled environment, the dogs were trained. But like anything else, they have to be continually trained, and they're not doing that for whatever reason, whether they don't have the time or the resources or what. But here's the problem. You can take, for example, you take a look at the border. They have these drug dogs at the border. But what is that dog really doing? They'll bring them over to a car or a person. Well, when they're cruising around the airports, what's going on there? Well, you got all kinds of people going in all different directions. And you got all these crazy scents coming at them all at the same time. At him, meaning the dogs. So guess what? They're not proven to be effective, What they do is they have these trial runs where they run drugs through or bombs through, knowing that the dog should be able to spot the bomb carrier, and they don't, because they get confused with all the different scents. So there's a perfect example. Again, if the government was spending its own money, they wouldn't have gone at it with $100 million and 700 dogs. They would have gone with, 2 or 3 dogs, and they would have tested it completely, thoroughly, at airports to see if, in fact, the masses of people aren't going to do what they're doing. They're throwing the dogs off, and they're not being effective. Sure, they could be effective at the border or in the back of a canine unit, when they're called out to sniff out a car or a person, but they can't seem to cut it when they're at a busy airport and you've got hundreds and hundreds of people with all kinds of different scents going in all different directions. The dogs are going to get confused. It's that simple. And so again, our government at work. If it was their money, they wouldn't have conducted it the way they did, but it isn't their money. Problem is, it's our money, and they blow it like it's monopoly money, Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from it. And what did I always say that this government that we have now does? Distract, to divert, to do what? To deceive. That's what they do.